Relatively speaking, there is no difficult builds in Guild Wars 2. What is difficult is having the awareness to recognize situations, having the knowledge to understand how to play around those situations. But if I were to pick one build that was the most difficult, it would probably be the Power Shatter Chronomancer build. And for someone who plays the game a lot, I'm constantly looking for new challenges. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I play the Power Shatter Chronomancer. The build has existed for quite some time, but it's been updated, and we're just going to go over quickly how to play it and the combos that are required. And then we'll go over the more important stuff like how to use it in a real situation. But if you like this kind of content, then please be sure to like and subscribe. Click the links in the description if you want to support me further. Thank you to my Patreon supporters who help to make this viable to invest time in. And without any further ado, let's get into the build really quick. For the gear, I go for a mix of Marauders gear with the Berserker trinkets. I go for the Scholar Rune. This is a burst build, pretty much a glass cannon, but I go for the Relic of the Defender because our shield is going to give us a decent amount of healing, which is going to help us to survive long enough that we can do basically 2 combos to our enemy. When you play against good players, they generally don't die to your first combo because they know how to use stun breaks and stuff like that. So you need a little bit more sustain to be able to survive long enough so you can do your second burst, which can usually finish them off after they've run out of their cooldowns. If you play against new players who are just montage fodder, then you can go for the Midnight King Relic, which is going to give you more fury and more burst damage. But as I said, more sustain is going to be nice on this build, which has almost no sustain. Then on the sword and shield, we go for energy cleansing. There's actually a weird thing that you can do with novelties. So if you use a kite in World vs. World, it will trigger your swap sigils. And this is nice because you can go into your sword shield, trigger your energy cleansing sigils, and then before you swap back into your greatsword, which is going to take you another 8 seconds to get back into your energy cleansing from your sword shield, you can swap to your kite, get the energy cleansing, and then swap into your greatsword and do your burst. And this is really important because you have basically no cleansing on this build. So maximizing that cleansing sigil is going to be really important. I don't know if this is intended, but you're playing the squishiest build ever, so you've got to min-max all the survivability you can get. Now on the greatsword, I go for absorption and severance. This is going to be our main burst weapon. So I go for the severance sigil, which is going to give us more precision and ferocity when we interrupt an enemy. And we've got a lot of dazes on this build. And we're going to go for the absorption because we can sometimes remove boons when interrupting an enemy. And though we've got plenty of boon removal on this build, it can always be nice to have more. I go for domination and illusions. Bountiful Blades is going to give us more burst damage with our greatsword. Boon removal on shatters is really important because during our burst combos, we don't want them to have protection or stability. And we go for power block because interrupting enemies will increase their cooldowns to help us lock them down and to prevent them from sustaining themselves after we've used our burst. And it also gives a little bit of supplementary damage if we do interrupt them. Now in illusions, we go for all the shatter traits with Shatterstorm, giving us an extra charge on our F1, which is our main burst ability. And then quickness on using a phantasm. We'll use a phantasm usually in the beginning of our combos. And then the Master of Fragmentation will give us extra effects on our shatters, such as extra continuum rift duration, which is important for getting those big burst combos. Time Sync, which is our F3, which is a daze, will now be AoE, which makes it a lot easier to land it on thieves and stuff like that, which go in stealth. And then our F1 is going to have a higher % chance to crit, which is nice because we don't have Fury access easily on this build. Now in Chronomancer, we go for the super speed and extra damage on shatters. You do extra damage to enemies that have movement inhibiting conditions on them. So it's really important that you either use your F2 without any clones to get a little bit of cripple on them, or you can use the Greatsword 3 to get cripple, or you can use the Sword 3, which is a movement inhibiting condition as well. So you want to use those before using your shatter combo because they'll increase the damage of your shatters. Then we go for illusionary reversion, which gives us an extra clone whenever we shatter with 3 clones. This is really good with mirror images because you can shatter with 3 clones, get that extra clone, use mirror images to get 2 more clones, and then do another shatter with 3 clones and get another extra clone. So you can see where the huge combos are coming in here, where you can do multiple shatters in a small window of time. And then we go for seize the moment for a little bit more quickness because we want to be performing these combos in a time window that is faster than enemies can react, and that can also fit within the continuum rift duration. Now you can go for mimic or the mantra of distraction depending on your playstyle. Mantra of distraction is a little bit better for 1v1s and locking down a certain target that you want to like prevent their heal from getting off. It's just a reliable interrupt. But the mimic can give you really huge combo plays because you can double up one of your utilities. So you can get a double mirror images and you can do the combo where you give yourself 3 clone shatters twice. And that's really important because you need 3 clones to do your maximum continuum split anyways. So you're going to be doing huge combos and your F1 has 2 charges on it. So you can use all of these clones that you're generating. And you can also do a double blink with mimic, which is enough distance to immediately get you out of combat. And then what you can do is you can use the kite to give yourself that cleansing sigil to remove conditions and get you out of combat in those situations where you're outnumbered, because this build does not do well outnumbered. So having that disengage potential is really important because you're just going to die. It's very punishing to play this build. So having that out with a double blink is nice, but you have to decide whether you want the double mirror images or the double blink way ahead of time because those are going to be on cooldown. So the basic burst is Greatsword 2, Greatsword 3, mirror images F1. The reason for that is because Greatsword 2 is going to give vulnerability and might, so you want to do that in melee range so it bounces between you and the target, gives you might, gives them vulnerability. It just sets up high damage modifiers. And it doesn't do terrible damage either. Then you want to do Mind Stab because that gives cripple to the target and that will increase the damage of your shatters because it's a movement inhibiting condition and it does pretty good damage. Then you want to do Mirror Images, which gives you 2 clones, and we've got an extra clone from our Greatsword 2. So we've got 3 clones now. So we do Greatsword, let me just remove that clone. So we do 2, 3, Mirror Images, F1. And the F1 is going to give us an extra clone as well because we did a 3 shatter. So we can now do an extra F1 if we really wanted to. So that's a 6 shatter because we did a 3 clone. We've got a 4th one because of Illusionary Persona, which means that the Mesmer character itself is a clone. So you get 4 shatters and then you get an extra clone to shatter, which gives you another 2. So it's a 6 shatter. So that's the basic burst. You could do that with a blink as well. So if you want to burst a target from range, do that and then just quickly burst them, do F1 again. But not everyone is just going to stand there and eat it. So you got to bait out cooldowns, right? So we want to do some CC. Now we can use the sword 3 to immobilize. We can port between our clone that immobilizes and then use shield 5 to stun them. And then immediately we can swap to our Greatsword 2 and do the burst. But we can also add in the gravity well there if we wanted to, because yeah, the burst is going to be really fast if we do it with quickness. And we can get the quickness from like our Phantasm from Echo of Memory. So say we do 4 and then we do 3 with quickness and then we swap and do the burst, right? That. But we can also do gravity well, which is going to give us a longer CC, which is going to make the combo way more fleshed out. Because then we can use the Greatsword 4, which is a little bit slow, but it gives us 2 clones and allows us to do even more shatters. So let's just show a more elaborate combo there, or a more fleshed out combo. So we're going to use the Sword 3 into the Shield 5, Gravity Well, swap to Greatsword, and then since they're CC'd with the Gravity Well, we're going to give the Greatsword 4 a whirl, and then the Greatsword 2. We've got 3 clones at that time, and the Greatsword 4 is going to be delayed, so we want to shatter, and then we're going to get the extra clone, but then the 2 from the Greatsword 4 are going to come in as well, so we can do a triple shatter twice. So let's just show that off real quick. So Greatsword, or Sword 3, Shield 5, Gravity Well, immediately swap to Greatsword 4, 2 mirror images, F1. Now the Greatsword 4 landed before, so it was a little bit messed up in the timing because I'm doing it slowly. But I would have 3 clones right now from the Greatsword 2 or the Greatsword 4, and then we could do the extra shatter again from the F1, so that's a double F1 shatter, and then we'd have an extra clone. So let's show that combo again. We did 2 sets of triple shatters with the F1. We landed all of our Greatsword 4, 3, 2 skills, and we stunned them pretty much the entire time, and we removed boons as well. Now that combo is nice, but it's complicated further by the fact that we can use Continuum Split, which will recharge all of the skills that we use inside of it and essentially allow us to double them up. So we can do a huge burst combo, and then we do a huge burst combo. But that's also going to require us to get more clones into the combo because you need clones to use Continuum Split. So that's where Mimic comes in. And Mimic is going to allow us to use mirror images twice. So what we can do is something more like this. So we can go in with the Sword 3. First we use the Mimic because we know that we're about to go for the combo. And then we're going to go for it. Mimic, Greatsword Burst now. And then we're going to leave after we do the shatter. And then we can do it again. Greatsword 4. Use the mirror images and F1 twice. Make sure that you're using the mirror images and shattering them immediately. Because if the Greatsword 4 clones arrive before you shatter them, then you're going to just get excess clones. So you got to do this very quick. It requires a lot of muscle memory. But yeah, you can just do it twice. Double gravity well combo. And yeah, it's a pretty powerful combo. It can usually kill many things because they just run out of stun breaks. The main thing that you do want to do is use your Greatsword skills in Continuum Split. So if you don't have your Greatsword skills off cooldown, don't enter Continuum Split because it's just not worth it to use your sword skills. And sure, you can do it with mirror images and shatters or your gravity well, but just auto attacking on your sword, it may not be enough, even though sometimes it's good enough. It's not the best. It's kind of like your last resort is to auto attack with quickness. So we generally just want to wait for our Greatsword cooldowns and then go into Continuum Split. So if you need to get clones, what you're going to be doing is Mimic mirror images and then blast them with your burst combo with Gravity Well and Greatsword. But the best way to show you is by showing actual situations. I start using my Shield 4 against this Mirage so I can get some clones, get a little bit of quickness. And I'm going to Sword 3 into Mirror Images F3. I want to daze them so that they can't do their burst. They distort, and I'm using Continuum Rift with my Greatsword burst, but they go into stealth, and I can't do anything. So I have to Mimic Blink Out because I missed my entire Continuum Split burst with my Greatsword, and I see that they are targeted right now. I missed my Greatsword 3, but they're using their leaps to get next to me, so I can bait them into my Gravity Well, swap the sword, create a clone, and Sword 2 while I'm shattering so that I don't get CC'd or anything. And you can see that the shatters do a lot of damage while they're CC'd because, yeah, they're just stuck in my F1. Now I use my heal skill, and then I can use my Shield 4 to get some clones while I'm biding time for my next shatter burst. But I want to probably use a distortion here because I know that my Greatsword is up soon and I just want to free cast that. So I'm going to swap the Greatsword while I'm invulnerable so I can just freely cast my Greatsword. I want to hit the down body. I'm dodging while distorting, which wasn't really necessary. Mirror images just because it's up to finish off the down with the shatter there. And now that we've got them down, I blink out with my second blink. And I'm getting shot by the ranger, so I stand behind the tree here to line of sight. And we're just going to wait for our cooldowns. I actually get out of combat, but I actually didn't realize that, so I should have stayed out of combat. But I knocked them away, used the Greatsword burst, and then go back behind line of sight, wait for my Greatsword 4, because that's where the big value is going to come from, because I'm going to get a lot of my clones from that. Swap to the Sword 3. I'm going to use the F3 to cancel their barrage, and then use the Shield 5 while I've got quickness, and I can auto attack them. they're stunned, and we do a lot of damage. I get stunned by the spike trap here, so I'm going to immediately shield 4, and I see that the boys have been called. Now I've got one way to get out of this situation, and it's mimic and double blink. So I need to stall for time until I can get that. So I use my sword 3 to juke up the ledge, and that's going to buy me a little bit more time. I can use the mirror images here to get some more clones, to use my distortion or to bait them. But now we've got distortion, we've got the mimic, and we've got the double blink. We can get out of combat, and now we can mount up, and we're pretty much out of this situation. I dodge so that they don't hit me, keep me in combat. We mount up, and we escape. Now here's a Sikkim Soul Beast. They immediately stealth with longbow and hit me with their knockback with a rapid fire. I'm forced to use my stun break, but I don't get value from the clones because they went in stealth and I didn't have access to a target, so it didn't create any clones on a target. I'm entangled now, so I'm going to be mimic blinking out of there. I've got another blink, but my shield 5 gets immunity and they stun me in my heal skill, so I have to use my last stun break to blink out. And I'm going to use my sword 3 here to try to juke them, but they kill it with their mace, and so I can't teleport back to the clone because it's dead now. I'm going to use my heal again to reduce the cooldown of my shield 4, use sword 2 to buy some more time till it's up, and now they swap into their longbow. I can block the stealth shot there, and we get our phantasms out, which is nice. We block some of the barrage so we can heal, and I want to go for my greatsword burst now, so I dodge greatsword 5, and I'm going to use the continuum rift with my gravity well, greatsword burst. I interrupted the gravity well though, and we didn't get too much value off of that, and we're just going to do tons of shadows here with the mirror images. I use gravity well again, but we don't have too much damage left. I use my auto attack while I've got quickness from all these shatters I did. We do a decent amount of damage, but they are pretty tanky, so we didn't finish them off, and they've got their heal skill going, so they're quite ahead of me in terms of health. I'm using the pillar here to line of sight. I shield 5 before they come around the corner, and I use my sword 3 again to try to juke and port up, but there's no valid path, so I don't get ported up. Use my heal skill to recharge my shield 4, and I block their pull before I get pulled into their combo, and we're just going to keep getting the phantasms here. I have my sword 2, which I can use to evade, and they just missed their stealth shot. They're going to Sikkim me, so I distortion to reflect any projectiles, but while they're sitting there barraging, I do my greatsword burst on them. They're going to use their knockdown on me, so I immediately stun break and use my diversion to knock them, or daze them rather. And we're going to mimic our blink again to get some height here and use the line of sight. Now I'm getting hit with the rapid fire, so I'm just slowly going behind this pillar. I hit them with the greatsword 2 and 3 while I'm peeking out behind that pillar, but we're taking a lot of damage and we're really low. They're doing pretty well in health, but we know that if we can just land one combo on them, that can maybe be enough. We've got a little bit of time until we can use our shield 4, so we want to keep juking a little bit with the sword 3 here, but they killed a clone again. I use my heal skill. They don't get the interrupt because I blink away before they use their stun. I shield 4 to block their next CC, and my shield 5 goes out. They do not have a stun break here. They actually do have a stun break, but I'm going to just go in with my burst anyways. They dodged, so I can now use my gravity well because I know they have no way to get out. Mirror images into my F1 burst, and we're going to take them out. Now here's a Willbender, which is going to be a pretty tough 1v1 because they can stick on me really easily, but they use their F3 almost instantly, and that means that we just need to use our shield 4 and distortion to survive long enough to just wait out their stability, because we can't CC them until then. Now they're running out, so I go into my continuum split greatsword burst. I'm using Mantra of Distraction in this clip, which is pretty nice when they run out of their stability. So I use it there, and they're dazed. They can't do anything except go for their focus. And now we're going to go for the Mantra probably again, or we can do the gravity well from our second gravity well after the continuum split. And another Willbender comes in, and they get caught in the crossfire of me finishing off the first one. I use distortion with 2 clones so I can stomp them, but it's probably not enough to stomp them, so what you could do is use Mantra of Distraction, and you can actually interrupt the downstate abilities sometimes, or the F3 to interrupt them. But we get the stomp, and we're going to port out, use my heal so I can block again, and I use the block inside the symbol here so that I can assuredly get the Defender Relic to proc. And we go for the Mantra of Distraction there to daze them. I go for the Greatsword 5, but it misses. They use their F1, which means I can't really CC them yet. So unless I get a really lucky boon removal with my shatters, I do use the F3, but as you can see, it doesn't remove the stability. It gives them a little bit of slow, but that's not really enough. So I should have saved it there. That was a mistake. I'm going to dodge into my sword 2 to evade, but we're taking a lot of pressure. We have no cooldowns. I use sword 3 to juke by delaying the port up the ledge there. And we're going to use the shield 5 just to gain a little bit more time until I can get my Mantra of Distraction. That recharges my F3, which might give me more time as well. We're getting pummeled by the pistol from afar. I use my heal, and I can use my shield 4 again. And we can stand inside the symbol to get more Defender Relic triggers. And now we're going to go for the sword 3. Immobilize if we can. They evade. And we actually missed our Greatsword 2 because they moved behind me. You always have to face the target when you're using your Greatsword 2. But we blink away and we're just able to finish them off with the Mantra of Distraction while we're Greatsword 1 spamming. In this situation, we're going against an Untamed. They immediately use their elite skill, which gives them stability and damage reduction, so we can't go for them. We're going to wait it out with our shield 4. And there's also a Spellbreaker on me, so I immediately use my shield 5 into Gravity Well combo. Once they run out of their stability, I go for the shield 5 again into another Gravity Well because I think that they've used another stun break. And we get the basic, shield 5 Gravity Well into Greatsword 4 combo on them. I use the Distort to get the stomp, and then we daze them with the F3 so that they don't CC me while I'm stomping. And then we can just run down this Spellbreaker who kind of took collateral damage while we're finishing off that one guy. But a Virtuoso comes in and they're going to try to stop me from stomping this Spellbreaker. But I've really got nothing to deal with this, so I use this shield 5 to CC them. Luckily, they use Vengeance, which was a misplay, because now all I have to do is survive instead of do damage, and they'll die. So they can actually kill me here, and I'll rally because their Vengeance is ending. And now I can try to survive. I'm going to Distort because that's up, and use my heal skill to get my shield 4 back, block some attacks. And now I just got to survive and kind of reset till I get my cooldowns because I'm really far behind. And I use the mirror images just so I can shatter the F3 to daze them so they can't cast anything. And I cast the Gravity Well just to keep them locked down while I'm running away. And I'm going to blink away here so I can stay out of combat, get a good reset on my health so I can take a more fair fight. And then we're going to go in again. So I open with the Greatsword to poke them a little bit, see if I can check out what they're going to open with and react to that. But we actually hit them with our Greatsword 4, which is nice. They use their heal skill, so we're ahead right now. But I can see off in the distance there's 2 names that are appearing, and lo and behold, it's the Untamed and the Spellbreaker again. So I'm going to have to use the shield 4 here to block the rapid fire from the... It looks like he swapped to Sikkim Soul Beast instead of Untamed. I'm just going to mimic and double blink out, and as you can see, that's far enough to get out of combat, and I just get out for free in that almost unwinnable situation because they just had way more damage, more aggression, way more numbers. They're more prepared to fight me now. So yeah, that's kind of how you play the Power Shatter Chronomancer in World vs. World. Once again, if you like this content, then subscribe, like the video, support me on Patreon, and click the links in the description, share my content, and we'll invest more into this if you enjoy it. And I'll see you guys next time.